Hey guys, it's Cece, and today I am here to recommend some books with asexual and aromantic protagonists. So this video, as well as an Own Voices trans book recommendations video that's coming in a couple of days, are videos I wanted to make because during Pride it feels like we don't talk about the full spectrum of queer identity here on BookTube. A fabulous booktuber named Jessie over at Bowties and Books did a fantastic video about this recently, so I will leave their channel and that video linked down in the description below. During Pride, it is always my goal to read from as many identities as possible, but sometimes it feels like Pride TBRs only focus on the L and the G at the beginning of the LGBTQIA+ acronym. So I wanted to talk about asexual and aromantic books because it feels like they don't get the attention that some other identities do, and I want to make sure as many people as possible know about these books. If you check down in the description below, there are going to be links to some Ace-Spectrum and Aro-Spectrum booktubers and book bloggers. Please check out all of those lovely people who are creating fantastic bookish content. I'm also going to be leaving a database of asexual and aromantic books that is incredibly useful. It has all of these really great sorting features. Just please check out that as well. A comment that I get a lot on pictures on videos is people who don't read diversely say that they only read what interests them. I only read what I like is a very common thing, and so I am talking about 7 books today that I have read, and then I'm going to give you an extensive TBR of books that I want to read because I don't like that excuse. I don't think it's fair because there are so many books out there that are exactly a book you might be interested in. It's just that they also feature a book with an asexual protagonist, a demi-romantic protagonist. There are so many books with queer protagonists that have engaging and fascinating stories and characters. The most important thing is to do research and to know that these books exist, and hopefully I am able to help even a little bit in that area. So without further ado, let's jump into talking about some books with Ace-Spectrum and Aro-Spectrum protagonists. So I'm splitting this up by genre, and first I'm going to talk about contemporary books, and the first of those I'm going to talk about is Let's Talk About Love by Clare Kann. I'm talking about this one first because it is my favorite contemporary with an asexual protagonist. So this book is about Alice, a biromantic ace girl who has just finished her freshman year of college when her girlfriend breaks up with her for being asexual. So Alice decides her summer is going to be all about binging shows on Netflix, hanging out with her friends, and working at the library. And then a new guy starts working at the library, Takumi, and Alice thinks he is ridiculously cute, and Alice has to decide if it's worth it to put her identity and her heart on the line again for someone new. This is a really brilliant book that isn't so much about coming out. Alice knows she is biromantic and asexual. Those are not things that she has to come to terms with, but it is a lot about engaging with those identities. It's about Alice starting therapy, it's about dealing with her parents' expectations of her, how she interacts with her friends, how she interacts with this new guy, Takumi. It's a really adorable book, and I definitely think that you should read it. Next, I want to talk about Summer Bird Blue by Akemi Bowman. This book is about Rumi Sato, who is dealing with the recent loss of her sister. Rumi and her sister were incredibly close. Her entire future was built around creating music with her sister, and then during a car accident, she dies. While she is in the midst of dealing with this grief, she really wants to connect to her mother, but her mother sends her away to live with her aunt in Hawaii instead, and that makes everything even more difficult. Rumi is multiracial. She is Japanese, Hawaiian, and white, and she also spends this book questioning and coming to terms with the fact that she is asexual and aromantic. This is a great book if you like books with angry girl protagonists. Rumi is very angry. She channels her grief into that rage, and I really love angry women in fiction. It's something that I just really feel for those characters, but the exploration of Rumi's sexuality and romantic identity is done so incredibly well. It is something that she's dealing with because she had started to maybe talk about it with her sister before she passed, and it's so difficult coming to terms with an element of herself that she doesn't get to share with her sister. Like, that creates a real stumbling block, but she's surrounded by understanding, wonderful, wonderful people, so it is ultimately a fantastic book that deals with a ton of stuff and is something that I definitely think you should pick up. And the last contemporary book I want to recommend is Tash Hearts Tolstoy by Kathryn Ormsbee. This book is about a girl named Tash who, with her friends, has been creating a modern adaptation of Anna Karenina. And then all of a sudden, the channel gets recommended by a big YouTuber and it's getting a ton of attention, a lot more subscribers, and Tash is dealing with that pressure while also coming to terms with being asexual. This is full of a ton of really lovable characters and I love it for that, but also I love the fact that this book is about YouTube. Like, it's just a little part of myself that adores reading about YouTube because I think it's something that's fascinating and that I like reading other people's opinions on. Tash dealing with being thrust into fame while also not fully understanding herself yet is really beautifully explored. This is just a really, really great book. I think it was the second book I ever read with an asexual protagonist, if I remember, and like, it's always stuck out to me because I think it's a really, really good story. Next, I want to talk about some science fiction and fantasy books, and the first of those is Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. This is part of the Wayward Children series that you have definitely heard me talk about before if you are a subscriber of this channel, because this is a series I love. This first book has an asexual protagonist, and there's also a trans guy who's a side character. There are other books in the series that also feature queer characters. The second book has a queer girl lead. Her identity isn't on the page, but I believe Seanan has said that that character identifies as pansexual. But this book is about Nancy, and this is a series about doorways that open. Children fall through into other worlds and they feel like they finally find a place where they belong, and then those doors open again and dump them back into our world, and those children no longer have a way to adjust to living in our universe. So they are sent to Eleanor West's Home for Wayward Children to wait for the day that maybe their door opens again. This is a really excellent book. It is the first book I ever read with an asexual protagonist, and I love it for that. But also, I love so many elements of this series, especially the fact that it is a portal fantasy that deals with trauma in a very serious way. There's always a lot more going on under the surface than just the plot with every single one of these. They're just really layered and fascinating and full of characters I love. Like, I recommend this series all the time. I love it. I love it. It's wonderful. I want to be reading Wayward Children books for the rest of my life. They're just fantastic. Next, I want to talk about Hullmetal Girls by Emily Skrutskie. This is a sci-fi story and is about two girls who make the decision to become genetically engineered super soldiers. There's Aisha, who is a hijabi Aro ace girl, and she makes this decision because it means that the government will give her family money, and it's money that they desperately need. And then there's Kay, who is a Japanese girl, and she doesn't have any memory of why she would make this horrible decision. This is a book very much about loss of bodily autonomy, about loss of control over yourself. There is a lot of like body horror elements. There is that loss of autonomy is just very, very frequent, but it's a concept I find very interesting. This book also has a trans girl side character and a pansexual side character. I think it's really brilliant. I love Emily Skrutskie's writing. She writes sci-fi in such an accessible, fantastic way that even though this book is dealing with an extremely classist society and is engaging with that classism, it also has these moments that are a ton of fun. It embraces the fun of a book set in space. It's just really, really fantastic. I love Emily Skrutskie, and I love this book. And the last book that I want to talk about that is sci-fi fantasy, I haven't completely finished yet, and that is Tarnish the Stars by Rosiee Thor. I'm currently reading this book. This is set in a world where technology has sort of become illegal. So Anna is one of the main characters. She provides illegal medical technology, and then she gets a new patient, Nathaniel, who's actually the commissioner's son and has the chance to completely destroy what Anna has created in order to follow in his father's footsteps. And then there is an assassin who is sent to learn all about the commissioner named Eliza. And Nathaniel is asexual and aromantic, and then there is a female-female romance, I believe, between Anna and Eliza. I am not very far through this, like I said, but I am really, really liking it so far. It's a really interesting world. I've been following the author online for the longest time now. This is one of my most anticipated releases of the year. It is being released on October 15th, so you have a little bit longer to wait for this one, but it's fantastic so far, and I think I'm really going to like the rest of it. Then I wanted to talk about one non-fiction book, and that is Water Runs Red by Jenna Clare. So in case you don't know, Jenna is a booktuber, a wonderful booktuber, and this is her poetry collection. This is a poetry collection that deals with a lot of really personal stuff for Jenna. Mostly it is about toxic friendship and friendships ending, and how it feels like we don't take friendships as seriously as romantic relationships, even though they can cause just as much heartbreak and can be just as deeply emotional and important. Jenna is also asexual, and so this covers some different themes of asexuality. There are a few different poems about it, and it's a really, really excellent collection. This is a book that I read in April of this year. It was a 5-star book. I absolutely loved it. Jenna is a fantastic human being. I've loved her channel for years, and I got to hang out with her a bit at Book Expo and BookCon, and I adore her. She's fantastic, and I love this collection. So those are 7 books that I highly recommend that you check out, but I wanted to give you a peek into just like my immediate TBR, because there are a lot of different shades of A-spec and Aro-Spec identities that I haven't read about yet that I really want to read more. In general, I always want to read more queer books, so these are just a few of the ones on my immediate TBR. So I have Beneath the Citadel by Destiny Soria, The Spy with the Red Balloon by Kathryn Locke, Sawkill Girls by Clare Legrand, Not Your Backup by C.B. Lee, the 3rd book in the Sidekick Squad series, The Trouble by Daria Defore, Immoral Code by Lillian Clark, and finally Switchback by Danica Stone. Please let me know what some of your favorite A-spectrum and Aro-spectrum books are down in the comments below. Have you read any of the books that I talked about in this video? Did you like them? Did you hate them? Also let me know that. And if you are a booktuber or book blogger who identifies on the A-spectrum and or the Aro-spectrum, please link your channel, your blog, your everything down in the comments so that people can find some new fabulous book-loving folks online. Anyway, that's it for me. I really hope you enjoyed this video and these recommendations, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!